What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Pizza Buffet, Week 5 in the NFL, right here on the Forward Progress YouTube channel, presented by Fanduel. I am Rob Pizzola. I'm here with you for the next hour or so, going through the entire Sunday card. You'll have to bear with me today. I spent the weekend in Happy Valley, went to Penn State, UCLA yesterday, lost my voice a little bit, so I'm going to do what I can. Got my coffee, ready to go, but I'm a little out of it. Been watching the Jets and Vikings as well. I'll keep my eye on that. Don't have much rooting interest in this game altogether. If I think there's anything worth firing live, I'll give that out on the stream as well. But not sure. Just looking at the markets right now, I think everything is fine in that game. So most of you that are here right now, you've seen an episode before. For those that are new, I'm going to go game by game, rotation number order. I'll give my numbers on each game, any props that I like in that game as well. As usual, if I give out a prop and I don't give out a number attached to it, you can assume that I like it across the market. So I'm not going to say, go bet this only at this sports book because it's an off-market price. If I give out a prop, you can go bet it anywhere. I would suggest that you line shop as always, but I'm just going to do that. It's a lot easier. If you see news in real time, drop it in here. I'm very focused on these game previews. The phone is away. It's down on the desk. If you see news, injury updates, post them in the chat. Helps everyone else here, including myself, and I can go through that stuff. So if you do see that, please do so. I want to remind myself, I want to remind you, I might change my picks from earlier in the week, and I want to explain why. And I'm going to do this every week. I know it's a little bit annoying for people, but your numbers in a football game will change based off of new data that becomes available. So when I'm on Best Bets on Wednesday and I'm talking about a game, or I do other media appearances or whatever, I'm using the information I have available to me at that time. As the week goes on, more information becomes available. We get final injury reports. On Sunday morning, we're going to get more data available to us that we can use to apply to our numbers. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the market moves. These games are not all the same prices they were earlier in the week. So if you see a change in my numbers or what I like on a game, it's reaction to new information that's become available. I want to remind you, this is the worst time to be betting the NFL. You guys know this by now. You've had all week. Get in earlier on this stuff. Earlier you can get in, the better chance you have of getting closing line value. If you're betting here on Sunday morning and you're following my tips or my numbers or whatever, know personally that I don't win on Sunday mornings betting major market NFL. For the people out there who think that it's that easy to beat NFL sides and totals on Sunday morning, ask them why they're not retired and living on a private island somewhere else. Because right now you can bet whatever you want on NFL games. Very easily could get down $500,000, $1 million across different sports books. So be aware of that. This is the most challenging time to bet. With that said, I'm going to get into it. I see the people already in the chat talking about the touchdown scores. Steven Robinson, if you're in here, he asked me last week for some touchdown scores I liked. I gave out 3. They all won. Some people threw them in parlays that paid 170 plus to 1. And what you have to know about that is that was a fluke. I got lucky. Even though I had an edge on each one of those, to win a 3-game parlay that pays that much, like my fair value on those picks is 100 to 1. I'm going to win that 1 out of 101 times. It happened to be last week. So again, bet responsibly. If you want to tail them, understand that I've bet these things myself as well, and I'm totally fine to give them out, but don't go nuts. This could be a week where we easily lose all of them. This isn't just like I'm riding a hot streak or something like that, like some of the cappers will say. You got to get in while I'm hot. I'm doing the same thing I do every single week. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. I see all of you in the chat here. A lot of familiar faces. What's up, Chosen? What's up, Will? Michael Robinson, H-Train, Taylor, Vinny, Wes, Connor. I don't want to leave people out. Nolan, Kyle, good morning to all of you guys out there. One last thing before I get into the games. Do me a quick favor. Smash that like button down below. If you're not subbed, hit that subscribe button. And one more favor this week. Last week, we had our highest concurrent viewers ever in the history of Pizza Buffet. I don't think we're going to get that today because we have a football game live on right now, and a lot of people will be tuned into that. But if you can click that share button, send Pizza Buffet out on your social platforms, whether that's Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Let other people know that there's a show that you watch on Sunday mornings where the host might actually know a thing or two about football. If you could do me that one favor, that would be very, very much appreciated. Thank you very much to all the nails. Let's get into it. Game number one, rotation number order. We got the Panthers and we got the Bears. Market right now at Fanduel -3.5, -120 on Chicago. Total has continuously been bet down over the course of the week. We're at 40.5 at Fanduel, 40 across some other books. So split action on the side and lots of money coming in on the under. I actually quite like the over in this game. It's not going to be the first time that I'm opposed to market on a total. I trust my numbers, but you must understand that there is a lot of money on the under in this game. Weather is possibly a factor. So we're looking at Chicago right now. We got sustained winds of roughly 15 miles an hour. We might have gusts a little bit more than that. That could affect a lot of the deeper passing or potentially some longer field goals in this game. And I do think that that's the reason you've seen continuous money on the under here, especially with 41 being a key number for totals. You're below that now. So lots of money on the under. I'm not there. I mean, we look at the Carolina offense. This is a much better offense with Andy Dalton. It is. Robert Hunt is questionable on the O-line today. I do expect him to play at right guard. And that's a big thing for me. Carolina spent a lot of money on the offensive line, especially upgrading the guards in the offseason. And that didn't manifest itself with Bryce Young at quarterback because he was terrible. He created a lot of his own pressure. Dalton is a lot better. I mean, he's not an above average quarterback, but you can see the efficiency of the offense with Dalton relative to Bryce Young. You look back at last week, a little bit misleading numbers for Carolina's offense. They had first and goal from the 2 that ended up in 0 points for them. They got to stop running these goal line fades. Dave Canales, I don't know what you're doing there. But really good success rates for 2 games under Dalton. Yes, this is a step up in defense. Chicago's defense is really good. They've picked up where they left off last year. There's not a lot of holes, but pass rush is a problem for them. And I think Carolina's offense isn't going to get shut down in this game. And when we're looking at the total in the low 40s, we're looking for a team just to not get shut down. On the other side of things, you have Tevin Jenkins injured on the Bears O-line. I think he's going to play today, but we haven't got an update yet. The real issue is what Carolina's personnel looks like for this week because Shaq Thompson's gone on IR. Josie Jewell is out. So they lose their inside linebackers. Shy Tuttle, we don't know if he's playing at nose tackle or not. Same with Charles Harris on the outside. But this is a lot of injuries that the Panthers have suffered on defense so far this year. And you might say to yourself, the Bears aren't going to be the team that exploits that. And I kind of agree. It's not going to be I don't think the Bears are going out and scoring 40 in this game or mid-30s like the Bengals did last week. But Chicago's had back-to-back games against poor defenses. They had the Colts with a lot of injuries. They had the Rams who've been bad. And they've moved the ball fairly well. In fact, if you watch those games, the output is a little bit lower because Caleb Williams hasn't been able to connect on any deep shots. He struggled to throw downfield. Is that going to correct itself here? I don't know. But the opportunities have been there, for the Bears offense. They even established the run last week against a team that couldn't stop the run. And that's open to them again this week with Carolina's front 7. So I'm pretty much on market with the side in this game. No strong opinion there. But I think that this total's been bet down too much. I'm on the over. I'm actually played it at a worse number, just full transparency. But that's where I stand on this one. For a prop look, especially now that we have a little bit more sustained wins, I like Keenan Allen over on receiving yards. I think a lot of underneath passes in space to Keenan Allen. The Panthers defense struggles to tackle. There's potential here for him to have a breakout game for the Bears this year after coming over in the offseason. At some point or another, I do want to get back to fading the Bears. We got to, we'll see what the market looks like, but they're going through a stretch right now of horrendous defenses all in order. So just keep that in mind going forwards. But at some point or another, the Bears, I think, are going to end up being a pretty good fade at one point. Okay. Second game on the board, AFC North matchup. It is the Ravens and the Bengals. If we look at this one, FanDuel's out at 2.5. Most books are out at 2.5 still in this one. Market making book, Circa's moved down to 2 on this game. Total 48.5 throughout pretty much the entire market, which has been bet down from earlier in this week as well. This is a game that I like quite a bit. I'll start with the Baltimore offense against the Cincy D because we don't have many injuries on either side of the ball here anymore. BJ Hill returns, Cincinnati defensive tackle. So for the last few weeks, they've been without BJ Hill. They've been without Sheldon Rankins. Rankins is going to miss again today. Trey Hendrickson got hurt last week, which was also big for them. At one point in that game, they were down 3/4 of their defensive line against Carolina. BJ Hill is a very good run stopper. I've talked about this in some of the media I've done this week for those who've been following. I don't like the Cincinnati defense. Like, I'm not here to tell you that the Bengals D is great or anything along those lines, but where they're being valued in market right now, I think that they are better. When you lose the entire interior of your defensive line and teams can run all over you, it's a lot more challenging to play defense overall. So Baltimore's going to want to run the ball. They'll probably have some success because the running game has been good. But going into the year, and even now, I'm still not convinced on the Baltimore O-line. So I don't think you're going to get like this Ravens rushing attack that you've seen against the Bills, against the Cowboys in recent weeks. If you do, I'd be a lot more concerned about the Cincinnati defense and their ability to cover in this game. But where I think I'm kind of off market here, or why I get to the edge on Cincinnati, is I really like the Bengals offense. Like, the Bengals offense is humming at this point. Throughout the early games of the season, T. Higgins out, Jamar Chase getting reacclimated to not having played in the preseason. This is a different test for Baltimore. Like, you look at the last 2 weeks, you had the Cowboys who have CeeDee Lamb and nobody. And CeeDee Lamb has been one of the worst receivers in terms of getting separation this year. You had the Bills last week who were, candidly, they just don't have the wide receivers. This is a different test overall, different animal. And I thought the Ravens secondary would struggle a little bit more going into the year, especially at corner. This is a game where I think that Cincinnati can really throw the ball on this Baltimore defense. I think that's going to be a big thing for them. Burrow is, the Bengals, I should say, are number 1 in the NFL in neutral game pass rate right now. And the Ravens allow a lot of big explosive plays. So that's where I'm off here. I think the Bengals are very live. I mean, it's only 2.5 spread. Of course, they're live. But this is one of my larger edges of the week, or at least numbers wise. I was a lot closer to a pick 'em than where we are in market the entire week. From a prop perspective, it's pretty square, but I think the Burrow passing yardage numbers are too low in this. This is one of those games where you look at Joe Burrow being lined in the mid 250s with the amount that I think Cincinnati will throw the ball in this game. I think that is low. Mike Durso in the chat, I quite like this. T. Higgins, 30-1, most receiving yards. I mean, it's not some outstanding value when you consider the board, but I think there's real upside for the Bengals offense today. I'm also surprised again, just anecdotally, another week where a Bengals under gets bet. And I don't know about these. Like I've been opposite every single one of these Bengals under moves in recent weeks. It's a team that wants to pass the ball, that can effectively pass the ball. I don't know. Okay. Third game here. Buffalo and Houston. Let's take a look at the market for this one right now. So Houston back to the favorite across the board. Fanduel's basically the only book at 1.5 right now. Most books are Houston -1. Total in the game has been bouncing all week. Got bet down quite a bit. We see game day money this morning on the over in this game to bring it up to 47.5. I'm very on market with my numbers right now for this game. So I don't think there's much to do here. Some might want to play Buffalo in teasers. Listen, I'm not a big teaser player. People go out of their way. They go nuts to tease through 3 and 7 to play these Wong teasers for, in my opinion, what is such a minimal edge. And in a lot of games, they're doing it where there's so many injuries that I'm not sure how efficient the closing line truly is, but to each their own. Buffalo's offense, no Khalil Shakir. That's a blow because they just don't have quality receivers across the board. Houston's going to miss Derek Barnett. That hurts their depth on the defensive end a little bit. We don't know if Azeez Al-Shaair is playing. He was dealing with an illness. Listen, Josh Allen is great, but there are some games where great quarterbacks, they just don't have it. Last week, I think, was just so many things went poorly for this team, and it stemmed from Sean McDermott making some horrible decisions to punt the ball early in the game, and things just spiraled out of control. I don't think Buffalo's offense is getting shut down again. Houston's run defense is very concerning. 22nd in EPA, 21st success rate. They played the Bears in one of their games who couldn't run the ball on anyone till last week, so that their numbers are even inflated a little bit. James Cook had real issues with Baltimore last week. Baltimore has a very good run defense, but this is a better opportunity for them to move forwards. I do think you're going to see a very heavy running game plan from the Bills in this game. One of the prop looks I like is Ray Davis over on rushing yards. When we look at the breakdown for Buffalo in recent weeks, obviously you got James Cook. He's your bell cow. But Ray Davis has really solidified that number 2 position over Ty Johnson. And he's going to be on the field roughly for a quarter of the snaps that Cook is. I just think this number is too low. So Ray Davis is the guy that I'm looking at. On the other side of the ball, you still got, you got injuries all kinds on both sides, right? Joe Mixon is out. Titus Howard, the right tackle for Houston, which I was keeping an eye on, is expected to play. Tank Dell is playing. That's positive for the Houston offense. Buffalo, you got Ed Von Miller suspended. Ed Oliver is out. Depth defensive tackle for them. Austin Johnson is out. Taylor Rapp is out at safety. The good news for them is Terrell Bernard is in at linebacker. But it's really hard for me to understand what to make of the Texans offense right now. I love the personnel, but Bobby Slowick, their OC, is very predictable in my opinion. Second down is a huge problem for the Texans because they get into these second and longs. They run the ball 12% more than expected in these types of situations. So they're always trying to set up this manageable third down, but I think they hurt themselves even further in the process. I don't like Houston's coaching staff. I made this very clear last year. I've made it very clear this year. They have to get out of this mold of, if we don't have a great play on first down, we just need to run and pick up yards on second down. Is it going to magically change this week? I don't think so, but I'm really keeping an eye on that on a week-to-week basis to see where it does change. There's another issue for Houston, offensive penalties for them. 26 accepted offensive penalties this year. that is a disaster. They got to clean these things up. I think at some point or another, Houston's offense gets it together, but I'm kind of right on market right now. Nothing to do with this game. Double-sided action. Seemingly almost everyone has an opinion on this, even in the chat today. I can see that. So real challenging game altogether for this one. Okay, before we get into our next game here, I'll remind you, bet the NFL season on Fanduel, America's #1 sportsbook. I'm a big fan of Fanduel. I have been for a long time, even stemming from the DFS days, but the sportsbook product is great. It's easy to navigate. It's functional, works all the time. Lots of great offers. Huge fan of it all around. And right now, all customers get a profit boost every single NFL game day. That means you can pump up your gridiron winnings multiple times a week. Today, we got an anytime touchdown profit boost token, same game parlay profit boost token, and a Sunday night football same game parlay profit boost token. If you actually haven't used a profit boost token for the London game yet, you can actually do that as well, as there's one available live right now. So tons of offers for today. FanDuel has tons of ways to get you in on the NFL action. You can bet money lines, spreads, player props, and more. Plus, with super simple live betting, lightning fast bet settlement, and instant withdrawals, FanDuel makes betting on the NFL easier than ever before. Visit FanDuel.com/forwardprogress to download FanDuel today. You must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC. Opt-ins required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms for these offers at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. And you guys know I take responsible gaming very seriously. So if you do have any issues, leverage those hotlines that are available to you. Nothing worse than having bad gambling results affect your personal well-being and your life. Okay, fourth game here. Keep it going. Indy and Jacksonville. Market has really come in on Jacksonville this morning and towards the under. So 3.5 minus 110 FanDuel. Some books have popped up all the way to 4 at this point. Total in the game has been bet down, 45.5 juice to the under at FanDuel. Some books already down to 45 in this one as well. Weather is a concern today. It is likely going to rain. You might get some real heavy rain in Jacksonville. Don't know the severity, but it is going to rain. There's some bad Trevor Lawrence games in the rain over the course of the years, but listen, I agree with the way that the market has moved in this game. I know some people really want Indianapolis because they think that Joe Flacco is an upgrade over Anthony Richardson. Richardson obviously doubtful to play. Jonathan Taylor out. Their center, Ryan Kelly, out. Braden Smith, the right tackle, is banged up. There's a lot going on here for the Indy offense. And there was some positive news for the Jacksonville defense with Josh Hines-Allen, who cleared concussion protocol this week. Their slot corner, Jerrion Jones, is good to go as well. Jacksonville's weakness is in the secondary. Tyson Campbell's on IR. They really can't cover. I understand the thought of wanting Joe Flacco in there instead of Richardson because you get a little bit more consistency instead of boom or bust. But Flacco is I call him a TWP machine, turnover-worthy play machine. He's full YOLO at this point of his career, and I thought he got away with some stuff against Pittsburgh last week. But with the wind here, the rain, you might get portions of the game where teams are going to have to rely on their running game. Jacksonville's run D is very strong. They have a 33.7% success rate. That's fourth best in the league. Jonathan Taylor might have had a chance of overcoming that. Trey Sermon doesn't. So I don't love that matchup. I do like Trey Sermon over on receptions. Purely because I think you might see some shorter passing game, especially when you get bad weather, tend to have some dump offs underneath. I think Sermon is going to get a pretty large workload today for this game. I mean, the backup there is Tyler Goodson. They have Evan Hall. These are not household names. So I like Sermon in the reception game. On the other side, Evan Ingram misses again, but it's the Indy D to me that it causes this number to go out where it is. Kwity Paye is out. Their slot corner, Kenny Moore, is out. Juju Brents is still IR'd. Backup quarter, Sam Womack. We don't know if he's in or not just yet, but that is a big one as well. It is a real challenge for Indianapolis's defense. You look back to last week, Justin Fields had a lot of success in that game. There was some fluke plays. There was the George Pickens fumble, which stayed in bounds that the Colts benefited from. This is not a great defense. I have my reservations with the Jacksonville offense. They're very inconsistent. The ADOT from Trevor Lawrence is super high, and they've struggled to throw downfield. I actually think the rain might be beneficial for them today, even if it is moderate type of rain, where it's more of an underneath type of passing game. I think that benefits them a lot more against this Colts defense, and especially because they haven't hit their shots downfield. Jacksonville's also been pretty terrible in the red zone this year. TA pointed this out this week, but 33% of their drives have ended in a turnover, a missed field goal, or a failed fourth down in the red zone. And eventually that's going to correct. You're going to get some positive regression there. So interesting game. I like where the market's at right now. I know that a lot of people will probably have interest in Indy getting the hook here, but I think it's a fair number. And I agree with the game day steam on this one. I take a quick sip of coffee here. Just, I'm trying to keep it together, Scott. I'm trying to keep it together. Miami, New England. One-way action towards Miami. Totally understand that. My numbers have flipped very significantly on this game based off of the injury report. But the Dolphins are now favored 1.5 across the board. Total is at 36.5. So I do have a pretty decent sized edge on the under in this game. And it's mainly because of New England's offense. New England's offense is a disaster. They got beat up players at receiver in Kendrick Bourne, KJ Osborne. Vidarian Lowe, their left tackle, has been hurt all year. David Andrews goes to IR, their center. Their backup center, Nick Leverett, is banged up. Layden Robinson, the right guard, banged up. I know people are very fixated on Jalen Phillips going to IR. Jordan Poyer, is hurt for Miami as well. But this New England offensive line can't block. It's just a disaster right now. The last couple weeks, and losing David Andrews is huge for them. I should point out Miami's defense gets Kendall Fuller back. That's big for them as well. But I'm struggling to see where New England's offense is able to move the ball here. I think it's got to be one of those games where they really just try to pound the rock. And I think that would have been easier earlier in the season, but it's not right now because they just don't have explosive weapons that can separate. And because of that, it's so easy for opposing defenses to play close to the line of scrimmage. The offensive line is bad. It's a real challenge for the New England offense. As bad as it's been for Miami's defense this year, they have been able to generate pressure. They're second in pressure percentage this season. Jalen Phillips out hurts, but it's still a defense that can generate pressure against a bad O-line. The other side of things, you get so much positivity for the Miami offense as well. Teron Armstead returns at left tackle. You get Odell Beckham in there on a snap count, but another weapon. Raheem Mostert is back. You have a banged up Patriots defense. Jawan Bentley's on IR. Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones dealing with injuries. Kyle Duggar's dealing with an injury. Jabril Peppers is out. This is a pass funnel defense. Miami now has the O-line healthy. They have the receivers healthy. They have Mostert as an additional option. If Tyler Huntley can't produce here, which is possible, it's within the realm of possibility. He's not a very good quarterback, but this is the spot for the Miami offense to get right a little bit, if it's going to get right. Is it going to be these downfield shots? No, I don't think it's going to be that, but totally agree with the flip here. I wrote Miami off for dead after the Tennessee game, and rightfully so. But there's just too much working against New England here. My numbers flipped on the game. It's an ugly one, though. It's an ugly one. I will not be watching much of this one today. I can tell you that. All right. One that I am very interested in is Cleveland, Washington. This is a back and forth type of game in the sense that market has showed support on both teams. I went to bed last night, kind of where the market's at right now, but I woke up this morning. Washington had been bet at some of the market making books. Since then, Cleveland's been bet back again. So two-way action here on game day. Spread is at 3 right now, flat 3. Total in the game, 44. Fanduel's at 43.5 right now, actually. If you're looking to bet the over in the game, you probably want to do so at Fanduel with that 43.5 that's hanging out there. Yeah, this is, Scott, this is a great way to put it. It's my B square don't care game. Would have been kind of that, and a little bit of Minnesota this week, I guess, is like the square sides that I like. Cleveland does have some things working in their favor, right? David Njoku's back in. Their left tackle, Jedrick Wills, is in. That is enormous because James Hudson has been a disaster. I talked about that on Best Bets on Wednesday, but he was giving up a pressure percentage of 10%. Most pressures in the league, 14, 8 quarterback hits. This gives Deshaun Watson a little bit more time. Right side of the offensive line still banged up, especially with Wyatt Teller on IR. I do think you'll see some success from the Cleveland offense. I know it's weird to say that, but a little bit unlucky against the Raiders last week. I've mentioned this many times, but I got to repeat it. They had a big time touchdown that was called back due to what I would call a phantom penalty. You had the interception that bounced off Amari Cooper's chest up into the air. These things matter quite a bit. Njoku there, Jedrick Wills there. This helps. And Washington's defense is not very good. They're last in EPA per play. They're last in EPA per drive. They're last in EPA per pass. They have the worst third down percentage on defense in the league. So there's opportunity there. And I do think Cleveland will have one of their better offensive games of the season. One look I do like, and it's purely numbers on the Cleveland side of things, is Elijah Moore under receiving yards. For those who have been here since week 1, we were playing Elijah Moore over earlier in the season in the mid-teens. And now we've seen quite an adjustment up. But with Njoku back in there, I think that the option, I think he becomes a lesser option in this offense. Let's just put it that way. So that's a prop look that I like. Washington's without Noah Brown. Brian Robinson's beat up. Cleveland's missing Jordan Hicks on the back end. I'm going to take a stance here that Washington's offense is actually really good. That's one of the things that's been discussed quite a bit this week is Washington has not played a good defense. I get it. They've played a very easy schedule of opposing defenses. It's the Bucks, the Giants, the Bengals, the Cards. All those teams are 21st or worse in EPA. Although, if you were to strip out the Washington game from a lot of those teams, you would see their defensive numbers go quite a ways up. So part of the reason that those defenses have looked so bad is the Washington game, although I do believe those defenses are actually bad. The Browns are 12th in EPA with Myles Garrett banged up for the year. They can pressure the quarterback. That's cause for concern. But I will say, I'm not entirely sold on the Cleveland defense. I love Cleveland's defensive personnel. I really do. I look at them on paper. I'm like, this is a defense that should be great. They've played the Cowboys, the Jags, the Giants, the Raiders offenses. That's the 7th easiest schedule of opposing offenses by success rate, 9th easiest by EPA. And they've only managed to rank 12th in terms of EPA in the league right now. This is not the same defense as a year ago. And I would argue that a year ago, their defense was largely overrated as well because they had this run of epically terrible quarterbacks from midseason onwards. So we'll see. This is a learning game, I think, for a lot of people. I think I totally understand where some people are coming from in that, going into the year, if you told someone week 5, Washington's laying a field goal at home against the Browns, and a lot of the pieces are intact for both teams, some people would say you're insane. You look at the look ahead, what a lot of people want to look at. Cleveland favored last week going into this week, but I've been higher on Washington, lower on Cleveland. It's worked out last week really well. So I'm just kind of going forwards with it. I'm going forwards with it right now. Anthony Richardson officially inactive here. That's not a surprise. Odell Beckham officially active, as is Raheem Mostert, and they confirm that Tyler Huntley will start that game as well. Okay, Las Vegas and Denver. So we're moving into the late slate here. A little bit of buyback on the Raiders, which I slightly disagree with. We're seeing some books move off the 3 back down to 2.5. If you do want to bet Denver in this game, FanDuel -2.5, -115 is the best number I see on the board. If you also like the under, FanDuel 36.5, under -115, best number on the board. I lean to both of those in this game. We'll start with the Raiders offense, and this is where I think I get out to this number on Denver. I think some people just look at this and they're like, Bo Nix laying points, like, give me the other side. Raiders offense is without Devontae Adams, without Zamir White, but like Zamir White, they can't even run the ball with their number 1 running back. I only imagine what this is going to be like as they go down the depth chart. Michael Mayer, their tight end 2, is out. Their right tackle, Thayer Munford, is out. Dylan Parham, their right guard, has a chance to miss the game as well, which would dismantle the right side of their offensive line. Denver's defense is healthy. So is their offense, but their defense is healthy. We're at week 5 of the year. The Broncos are the healthiest team in the league. I was admittedly very wrong about this defense going into the year. They're 4th in defensive EPA. They completely shut down the Jets last week. Yeah, it was in the rain, but we've seen this team play solid defense this year. With Devontae Adams out, you have one legitimate wide receiver option in Jacoby Myers. He's going to draw Patrick Surtain in this game. I don't know where the passing game is going to come from. The run defense has been just as good for the Broncos. I don't know how the Raiders move the ball. I really don't. I just can't see it happening. I mean, never say never. It's the NFL. We see all sorts of crazy shit all the time. But this is disaster for the Raiders heading into this game with this particular matchup. The other side of the ball, I mentioned Denver's offense is healthy. Max Crosby expected to play, which is big, obviously, not just because it's Max Crosby, but because their other defensive end, Malcolm Kuntz, is on IR. But I know Bo Nix sucks. They're 2-2. You look at his EPA per dropback, you're like, how is this even possible? There's only 2 quarterbacks that have a worse EPA per dropback in their first 4 starts than Bo Nix. They were Josh Rosen and David Carr. So it's been really bad. And I get it. You don't want to lay points with, some people don't want to lay points with an offense that is this bad. But they faced some good defenses. They played arguably the best secondary in the league in the New York Jets, at least from a cornerback perspective. They played the Seahawks defense pre all those defensive line injuries when they were at full health, with the exception of Uchenna Nwosu, who was out that game. When you look at where the Raiders defense ranks in success rate and EPA, the only defense that they've played that was in that same range was the Bucs. And they moved the ball on the Bucs substantially, as I'm watching Aaron Rodgers down on the ground right now. See what that injury is for the Jets. But I think this is, yeah, he's looks okay. Looked bad in real time, but there we go. Anyways, that's where I'm at for this game. No specific prop look for this one, but I totally get why there's buyback on Raiders at 3. That's got to be a buy point for a ton of people. But I just don't like this for them at all. Okay. Kevin Roth, I think Roto Grinders, I want to say, just posted most of the rain in Jacksonville has passed, scattered showers incoming. Good to know. Interesting to see if we will see any more money come back in on the over in that game in the next hour leading up to game time. Arizona, San Fran, our next game on the board. All those, I was going to say all those 7.5s are gone, but they're not. Fanduel still 7.5. Few other books still 7.5 as well in this game. Total bet down. The high totals this year have pretty much exclusively been bet down. We got some 49s. Fanduel's 48.5. Juice to the over in this game as well. Before I talk about offense and defense and like the breakdown of the game, I think a lot of people are looking at this as a very bad spot for the 49ers. They played an easy opponent last week. They have a big game coming up with the Seahawks next week, the old look ahead. I think that a lot of those factors used to matter more than they do nowadays in the NFL. But in particular, I think they matter a lot less with teams that are well coached. I have done some pretty exhaustive research on this, but these flat, quote unquote, flat spots for certain teams, they exist less and less. In fact, I would say that they don't even exist anymore with what I would consider good coaches. So I'm not buying into the whole flat spot thing. Now, I could be swayed on this is the low point for Arizona. Back-to-back weeks where they've looked terrible. Trey McBride is back in all likelihood. He got downgraded to questionable yesterday with a rib injury, but he's expected to play. I don't know about Kelvin Beachum at right tackle. He's terrible. Jonah Williams is on IR still, so that could be a situation for them. You have these injuries on San Fran's defense with Fred Warner banged up. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is out. Javon Hargrave is on IR. But I'm not sold on Arizona. This was kind of like the team that was getting a lot of love in the offseason that I truly wasn't there on just yet. Could they have a good offensive game here? Yes, because I think the 49ers defense is overrated. I think they will be weaker stopping the run. With Warner banged up, Dre Greenlaw is unavailable for them as well. Like I mentioned, Hargrave on IR. I think Arizona might find some success running the ball. And this defense from the 49ers is definitely not as dominant as it once was. They gave up really high EPA per play to the Vikings, although, I mean, Vikings seem to be doing that to a lot of teams. And to the Rams a few weeks ago as well. That was with Cooper Kupp injured, Puka Nacua injured, some O-linemen out as well. So there's that side of things. But on the other side, I don't know where the path of resistance comes for the 49ers offense. George Kittle's expected to play. Arizona's slot corner, Garrett Williams, is out. This is a defense that already can't be losing players. You don't want to be losing starting corners, nickel corners. Brock Purdy is having a great year. They're throwing the ball. He's second in the NFL in air yards per attempt, 10.6 air yards per throw. And he's having success doing it. It's not like Anthony Richardson throwing downfield and it's boom or bust. They are carving teams. And Arizona's front seven on defense is rough. They had no chance of stopping the Commanders last week. They get another good offense this week and a team that can run the ball. I mean, look at this Arizona front seven. This was like the defensive line coming into the year. I know what Jonathan Gannon said. Like, we're going to figure out a way to deal with this, but you can't. At some point or another, you need the horses, and they don't have them. So, I don't know. I strongly lean towards San Fran in the game. Jordan Mason over on rushing yards is good, in my opinion. That's a big one. And it's a large number is what I mean to say when I say it's a big one. But this is a game where I think San Fran is probably leading a lot. They should have no issues establishing the run, in my opinion, here. And Jason is pulling up the alts on screen right now. But I think that there's some good looks in there as well on the alternate yardage markets. Green Bay and the Rams. This was out at Green Bay 3.5 earlier in the week. It's since been bet down to 3. However, a lot of the books are shaded towards the Packers side here. Fanduel -3, -115. Total in the game has been bet up to 49.5 at Fanduel, and can't argue with that whatsoever. Green Bay has some issues at receiver. Christian Watson is doubtful. Romeo Doubs suspended. Luke Musgrave might not play. Their tight end too. Darius Williams is back for the Rams at corner. His snap count is TBD. I don't know that any of this matters. Jordan Love is an explosive passes guy. They throw downfield. This is a staple of LaFleur's offense. They get a defense that can't defend the pass. They've allowed the second highest rate of explosive plays in the entire league this year. It's not like they're very thin at receiver as well. We've seen a lot of these guys step up in the past and have success. You'll see a lot of Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, but they have Malik Heath and Bo Melton there as well. Not household names, but guys that have stepped in and had no issues before. Jordan Love didn't look great for most of last week. That was Brian Flores' defense. This is very different. The Rams let the Bears find a running game last week. I think Green Bay can move this however they want. However they want. From a prop look, I do like Malik Heath over on receiving yards. I don't know the shakeup of Bo Melton and Malik Heath for this game. Based off of the betting markets, Melton probably going to get more snaps and looks. This is a low number, in my opinion, for Heath against this pass defense in particular. Just need double-digit yardage, basically, to cash that. I think that's a good look. Other side of things, Cooper Kupp still out. Injuries on the O-line for the Rams, Steve Avila, Jonah Jackson, Joe Noteboom still IR'd. You get Devontae Wyatt out on the defensive line for the Packers. Looks like Jair Alexander is trending towards playing. We don't have that available to us right now. But the Rams are going to find some success, whether Alexander's in there or not, because they have Matt Stafford. They have Kyron Williams. I mean, Green Bay's defense is overrated. A lot of the EPA that Green Bay's defense has generated has been through turnovers. Perception and reality don't match up. You look at a 9th-ranked EPA defense, you're like, yeah, top 10 defense, that's great. Well, I mean, they've generated 11 turnovers. They have the most EPA in the league from turnovers. That's not to say that Stafford never turns it over or anything, but I see where the move on the over came here, even with the injuries. Hard to argue against it. You put the Packers offense on that type of surface, 2 good quarterbacks, completely get it for that one. Giants and the Seahawks. Next game here. One-way action on the Seahawks this week, pretty much all injury related. Market sitting at 7. Total, we see some 42s and 43s at market-making books, which is kind of weird to see a full point difference between 2 market-making books. Fanduel's at 42.5. I like Seattle quite a bit. This is a situational spot, in my opinion, that matters. You have your team that played on a short week, Monday Night Football, against a team that played on Thursday Night Football. So it's extra rest versus short rest. But it's not only that. Seattle has a lot of mileage on them already this year. They went to New England, cross country, played that game to overtime. It's a situational spot that, in my opinion, matters. Now, the Giants' offense, without Malik Neighbors, is very likely going to be ugly. Devin Singletary as well. You get huge upgrades on the Seattle defense. Byron Murphy's still out, but Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu, Jerome Baker are all back this week. There's a decent chance Boye Mafe's playing as well. So this isn't the Seahawks defense that had nobody against the Lions on Monday night. These are the upgrades. Now, the Giants offense, watching them last week against the Cowboys, in my opinion, is fairly predictable. They look for a lot of short throws. Not having Neighbors there as a guy who can win off the line of scrimmage hurts them quite a bit against this type of defense. But Daniel Jones can't throw a deep ball right now. Terrible underthrows, inaccurate. So Jalen Hyatt's like your next guy up for the New York Giants, but I'm not sure he figures in here with the struggle that they've had stretching the field this season. Other side, Seattle's offense is healthy. The Giants kind of are. They're dealing with some corner injuries. Drew Phillips, Adoree Jackson. Their corners are rough anyways. Seahawks should have some success, but where I think the Giants match up well with them is the Giants can generate pressure. Kayvon Thibodeau had a huge game against the Cowboys. He had a 21% pressure rate. He had a sack in that game. The front 7 is very good for the Giants. You have Charles Cross from the Seahawks, who got obliterated last week against Detroit. Gave up 10 pressures in that game, 12 hurries, huge pressure rate. There's a path to success for the Giants defense here. Seattle's offensive line is 22nd in the league in clean pocket rate. Pretty low. So listen, this could easily be a blowout. Don't get me wrong. Seattle wins this game by margin. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But I think 7 is a little bit valuable on the Giants right now. Those corners against the Seahawks receivers will be a challenge, but if they can get some pressure, I think that's the way to look at it. Okay. Sunday Night Football. Final game here, and then I'll get into anytime touchdown score. Let's see where the market is now after the Joey Toons release on the Cowboys. So we're down to 2.5 everywhere. Total 43.5. These 2.5s are juiced towards Pittsburgh. Fanduel's minus 118. Some other books minus 120. Again, this kind of is similar to the Las Vegas Denver handicap. I understand why someone would find value in getting the 3 in this game, because in Las Vegas Denver, if you're betting Vegas plus 3, you need the Broncos to win by more than a field goal. That's not going to happen often. In this instance, it's the same with the Steelers. There's not going to be a lot of games that the Steelers win by margin, by more than a field goal. You have some potential weather issues. There's some storms in and around Pittsburgh. You might get some downpour during the game. Not supposed to rain all game, but winds will pick up. Rainy. I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. I think very impartially on a lot of their games. You see the logo behind me here. I don't like them at all in this game. I'm just going to call it up. Like, Brandon Cooks on IR, which Brandon Cooks isn't even a great receiver, but they don't have the depth. Like, the game plan against Dallas is take CeeDee Lamb out of the game, and that's it right now. Alex Highsmith is out for Pittsburgh. That matters, but Nick Herbig is in. The O-line is a real issue for this game. Tyler Guyton at left tackle is brutal right now. Even at right tackle, they're not set with Terrence Steele. He's a below-average starter. This is a problem against the Steelers. The Cowboys can't run the ball. I mentioned the CeeDee Lamb separation stuff all week, but his separation rate is 2.06 yards. That's second last in the NFL, according to True Media. So find me the path to success for Dallas's offense. I don't see it. I really don't. This is not the same O-line as years past. Dak Prescott's going to deal with a lot of pressure in this game. I really don't see it. On the other side of things, okay, so here's the thing. Like, the Steelers' corners are bad. Dak can throw. The Giants' corners are way worse. Played them last week. Topped out at 20 points in the game. Way worse. So, yeah, sure, they're bad. I don't think they're above average corner group. This is a way below way below average wide receiver group as a whole right now. They don't have time in pass protection. I don't see it. That's me personally. Pittsburgh offense, okay, Jalen Warren out, Cordero Patterson out. That kind of hurts them. You got like Najee Harris plodding around a little bit. Don't love it. But Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence out. Like, these are significant injuries. Pittsburgh wants to line up and run the ball down your throat. That's what they want to do. You can do that against the Cowboys. I know the Giants didn't last week. The Giants don't run the ball well on anyone. Cleveland didn't against the Cowboys in week 1. Sure. They're not running the ball well with that O-line. Look at the teams that commit to running the ball. The Saints, the Ravens against Dallas. They had whatever they wanted on the ground. And the interior of this D-line is so bad at defending the run. You lose your edge rushers. This is a team that has historically really struggled at containing mobile quarterbacks with this personnel on defense. It happened against Lamar a couple weeks ago. Listen, I'm not the biggest Justin Fields fan, but there's more than enough opportunity for success for the Steelers offense in this game. So don't agree with that release by Toons on the Cowboys. I understand it, but don't agree with it. Okay, that's it for the day. I'll do the touchdown scores. Okay, I'll do the touchdown scores. Again, I'll give out a bunch that I think have value. I have to give you the little spiel beforehand. Last week, was a fluke. I cannot state that enough. I know when I say give these out, Jason's going to put together some sort of parlay on screen. Last week was a fluke. Get it through your head. I like to target touchdown scorers in games where there's significant injuries on offense. And I think that there's players that might step into an advanced role that have not been priced properly in the games. I will start with the Washington Commanders. The prophet Zacchaeus, Olamide Zacchaeus, who's been a big part of the offense this year. Noah Brown is out today. I think Zacchaeus is on the field a lot more in this game. You can get him in ranges of 5-1, plus 550, anytime touchdown score. And again, I think Washington humming. Offensively, don't mind the matchup against the Browns. I'm going Zacchaeus as one of the touchdowns. I'm going to the New York Giants. I'm going to take Eric Gray as an option on the New York Giants. Gotta hope that they get something down near the goal line. With Devin Singletary not likely to play, you'll see a lot of Tyrone Tracy, but you're also going to see some Eric Gray in this game. 5-1. I just think that's overpriced altogether. In a similar vein, Pittsburgh wants to run the ball. Najee Harris is going to get a bunch, but I'm going off the board. Aaron Shampklin. Shampy. My guy. I'm only calling him my guy. I've honestly never played a touchdown prop on him in forever. This 3-gamer, if you were to play it, which I'm not playing as a 3-leg parlay, I'm playing them individually, would pay 178-1. I would suggest you don't parlay them, but I know everyone has FOMO after last week, so they're likely going to get parlayed. Again, could easily go 0 for 3, whatever. So that's the ones that I like the most. If I was looking for some deeper flyers today to bet, one would be MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling for Buffalo. He's roughly in the 7-1 range. Again, you want to shop around on these. FanDuel has a much better price on MVS than most other sports books. Last time I checked, 7-1. You don't have to throw that in the parlay either, but listen, I mean, Jason's going to do it. He's going to do what he does. 7-1 there. And Malik Heath for Green Bay as well is 9-1. I talked about liking him on the over 10.5 receiving yards. Like him in the touchdown market as well at 9-1. Remember, anytime touchdown markets have a lot of VIG attached to them. Shop around, but honestly, so plus 850, sorry, not 9-1. It's moved a little bit, but I can tell you, like, listen, FanDuel's presenting this show, but they have the best prices on a lot of these touchdown score props. So, like, make sure you are shopping them around. And if you're going to bet them at FanDuel, because, I mean, like, just one of these players, if I was to look across the board right now, you're just going to get shit prices elsewhere, and you don't want to do that to yourself. Malik Heath, touchdowns, plus 850, FanDuel. DraftKings plus 500, 365 plus 550, BetMGM plus 600, Rivers 600, like Fanatics 750, Pinnacle in Canada 598. Like, you're not getting the same value. And the same thing, Carlos, the other way around. Listen, you bet them wherever you find the best prices, but in a lot of cases, you're going to find the best price on FanDuel. I'm not going to talk. Rob said, I love you guys. I truly love you guys. Prop of the day, preferably one. Of the looks that I gave out that I think has the best potential to stack, it would probably be Burrow over passing yards, honestly. Like from a pure stack potential, laddering 250 plus, 275 plus, 300 plus. I could really see a big game there from Burrow today. I'm hoping so, at the very least. Just got to hope that it's not a Bengals blowout and then they start running the ball a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so not going to get the I agree. Like, if you want to do some inversely correlated parlays as well, I don't hate Burrow under completions over pass yards. Like, they're going to take shots. They will take shots with a full complement of receiving options against Baltimore. Kind of like that kind of stuff in a lot of cases. All right. Tonight, we got a live watch along. Sunday Night Football. You get to watch me watch my Cowboys. That should be a treat for everyone. Clive Bixby's on with me in the first half. We'll look at the opening lines at Fanduel for week 6. We'll give our early thoughts on those. I'll give out a same game parlay for the game tonight as well before we start. We'll also get the Porn Guy parlay from producer Jason Cooper, the PGP, as it's called. So join me here tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. First look at next week. Reaction to the day. Sunday Night Football watch along. It's going to be a banger. Please, boys, on the way out, boys and girls, I should say. I know like 5% of our audience is female. I'm sorry. I don't mean to discriminate. Smash that like button on the way out the door. Make sure you're subbed here on Forward Progress if you just found us for the first time. Also, before you leave, drop your favorite bet. Drop your favorite bet in the comments before you leave. I'll take a look at those, go through them now, but we'll recap some of those tonight too on the live watch along. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to my producer, Jason Cooper, behind the scenes. Check out FanDuel if you haven't already. I'm out. Going to watch the end of this Vikings-Jets game at Tottenham Stadium and hopefully enjoy a day of football, just like you guys and girls. This has been the Pizza Buffet Week 5 in the NFL presented by FanDuel. Everyone, good luck with your bets today. I'll catch you tonight. Peace out.